trauma. This isn't just about big, dramatic events. It's about the hidden wounds we carry and, more importantly, how we can transform them from sources of pain into sources of strength. So, what exactly is trauma? It's not just one thing. There's acute trauma, which comes from a single, shocking event, like an accident, a sudden loss, or a deep betrayal. Then there's chronic trauma, which is the result of repeated harm over time. Think long-term bullying, neglect, or living in an unsafe environment. It's the slow, constant erosion of your sense of safety. Another type is complex or developmental trauma. This happens when a child's early life is filled with instability or harm, shaping how their brain develops and how they see themselves in the world. It becomes part of their foundation. We also have secondary or vicarious trauma. This is what helpers, first responders, and even friends can experience by absorbing the traumatic stories of others. It's the cost of caring deeply. And finally, there are microtraumas or cumulative stress. These are the small, repeated hurts, the dismissive comments, the subtle rejections that seem minor on their own but add up over time, like 1,000 tiny cuts. Recognizing these different forms is the first step, because it helps us validate our own experiences, no matter how big or small they might seem to others. Your pain is real. So, how does this invisible weight show up in our daily lives? Well, it can manifest in many ways. You might find yourself in a state of hypervigilance, constantly on edge, scanning for danger, unable to relax. It's like your internal alarm system is stuck on high alert. On the flip side, you might experience numbing or shutting down. When feelings become too overwhelming, the mind can just go blank, making you feel disconnected from yourself and others. It's a survival mechanism to avoid pain. Then there are the classic signs like flashbacks or intrusive memories, where the past suddenly crashes into the present without warning, making you feel like you're reliving the event all over again. These aren't just memories. They're full-body experiences. Trauma also deeply impacts our relationships. You might become clingy, desperate for reassurance, and terrified of being abandoned. Or you might become avoidant, pushing people away to protect yourself from getting hurt again. It's a confusing push and pull dynamic that keeps you from the connection you crave, and it's not all in your head. Trauma lives in the body. It can show up as chronic pain, digestive issues, persistent fatigue, sleep problems, or a constant feeling of anxiety humming just beneath the surface. Your body is keeping the score, holding onto the tension and fear you couldn't process at the time. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not broken. These are normal responses to abnormal situations. Now, here's where we pivot. This is the most important part of our conversation today. How do we turn this pain into a superpower? It sounds impossible, but it's not. K is to shift your perspective. First, you have to name it, not shame it. Acknowledging I experienced trauma, and this is how it affects me, isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of profound self-awareness. Once you see the pattern, you're no longer a victim of it. You gain the power to choose a different response. Shame keeps you stuck. Awareness sets you free. Second, start looking for the hidden skill within the survival trait, hypervigilance, that makes you anxious. It also made you incredibly observant and detail-oriented, that fear of others. It taught you how to read people in situations with uncanny accuracy. Your survival required you to develop these skills. Now, you can use them consciously. The perfectionist learned to be thorough. The people pleaser developed empathy. See the gift inside the wound. Next, redirect that survival energy. The same powerful drive that kept you safe can now be channeled into building something new. Use that intensity to pursue a goal, learn a new skill, create art, or build your dream business. That fire inside you was meant for more than just surviving. It's fuel for thriving. Don't try to extinguish it. Learn to aim it. This leads to telling a new story. The old story might be, I am broken because of what happened to me. The new, more powerful story is, I survived something difficult, and it taught me invaluable lessons about resilience, empathy, and strength. You are not defined by your scars. You are defined by the fact that you are still here, learning and growing despite them. Reframe your narrative from victimhood to survival and growth. Finally, practice safe exposures. Trauma often makes our world smaller by teaching us to avoid anything that reminds us of the pain. The path to reclaiming your life is to gently and safely reintroduce those things. If you avoid crowds, maybe you start by just sitting in a quiet cafe for 10 minutes. You slowly teach your nervous system that you are safe now. Can alongside this build rituals and anchors. These are grounding routines that stabilize your nervous system. A morning cup of tea, a walk in nature, 5 minutes of deep breathing. These simple, consistent acts tell your body, I am safe. I am in control. Let's get really practical. Here are a few tools you can start using today. First, the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding technique. When you feel overwhelmed, pause and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise pulls you out of the storm in your mind and anchors you firmly in the present moment, using your senses. It's incredibly powerful for calming anxiety. Another tool is skill extraction journaling. Get a notebook and write this prompt, because I went through the traumatic experience. I developed the skill of the survival trait. Then follow it with today. I can use that skill to ... double quotes, for example. Because I grew up in a chaotic home, I developed the skill of creating order. Today, I can use that skill to organize my projects at work and create a peaceful home for myself. This exercise helps you reframe your past and actively repurpose your skills. And for facing avoidance, use the tiny approach step. Identify 1 thing you've been avoiding out of fear. Now, what is the absolute smallest, most laughably easy step you could take toward it? If you're afraid of public speaking, maybe the first step is just writing 1 sentence for a speech. Not giving it, not practicing it, just writing 1 sentence. Celebrate that tiny win. These small actions build momentum and retrain your brain to see that you are capable and safe. Of course, sometimes these tools aren't enough. It's crucial to know when to seek professional help. You're constantly overwhelmed by memories. If you're struggling to function in your daily life, or if you're having thoughts of harming yourself, please reach out. You don't have to go through this alone. Therapies like EMDR, somatic experiencing, and CBT are specifically designed to help process trauma in a safe and effective way. Seeking help is a sign of incredible strength, not weakness. So, let's bring this all together. Your trauma does not define you. It is a part of your story, but it is not the entire book. What happened to you was not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility and your opportunity. The very things you had to learn to survive can become the skills that help you thrive. You don't need to be over it or pretend it never happened. You just need to be willing to understand its impact and gently redirect its energy toward the life you want to build. Your past prepared you. Now, it's time to use that preparation to create your future.